This is the second battle between me and Vim in the Beta Flash tournament. It was a 36-man tournament, I believe. This is the second final game. Vim is commanding the Saxons, and I am commanding the Eastern Roman Empire. So I saved the Eastern Roman Empire for last, and now I am bringing out the big boys. However, I cannot bring 6 Tagmata. I can only bring 2 Tagmata. And I like what Vim has done here. He's just said, fuck it. I've seen people get wrecked by triple gold cavalry all day. Well, I don't know if that's what he thought, but that's what I imagine he thought. So I've seen people get wrecked by triple gold cavalry all day. I'm going to just fucking triple gold all of my cavalry. And he did that, and I absolutely love it. So he has triple gold Nordic Horse Lords. Triple gold Saxon mounted warband. This is an interesting choice. I mean, they are not bad. They have... they're not bad at all, actually. They have missiles, they have a decent amount of armor and health. Let's see how they're able to do. Then he has more triple gold Nordic Horse Lords. The Chieftain with the Gedrith, the Nordic Horse Lords again, and more Saxon Mounted Warband. So, Saxon Mounted Warband and Nordic Horse Lords. Also Nordic Mounted Raiders. And these units, personally, I would never bring them. 8 armor, 170 health, they just die. Very light as well. Cannot take charges. The Chieftain with Gedrith is a very solid, I mean 175 health and 67 armor. It's just ridiculous how tanky this guy is, and 124 morale means that he isn't going to be running from many battles. He's a very, very strong general's option. Not very killy, but tanky, as he's the most tanky infantry unit in the game, I think. And also, what worries me the most is that Vim has brought Nordic Band, Nordic Brigade, Nordic Band, Nordic Brigade, and Nordic Band, Nordic Brigade. So he has a total of 8 of these low-quality units. For me, I have Exhibitores Cavalry Guard, 2 Tagmata, I have 4 Scholae Palatini, I have a total of 3 Exhibitores Cavalry Guard, and these are there to act as tanky units. Not great in prolonged cavalry engagements. Then I have 4 of my trusty Protectores Domestici, and the Magister Militum is of course a brace general. So when I see this mass of cheap units, I get a bit worried, because these precursors could, if he's able to close off cavalry engagements, throw in precursors, my cavalry has absolutely nowhere to go, and I'm going to take so much damage from precursors that I'm going to lose the following fight here, because I only have 6 good anti-cavalry melee cavalry units. The Exhibitores are not that. The Exhibitores will wreck any of his infantry, but it's not really worth it using them. So I'm moving up very wide here, and things are going to start happening very, very quickly. I'm going to give attack orders straight away just to make sure that I get my charges off. My Palatini are charging in here. They have the wrong attack order, so they're going to get sort of intercepted, but then I'm going to intercept the Nordic Mounted Raiders, and look at how quickly the Nordic Mounted Raiders die. Then I'm sending in my Palatini against the Nordic Mounted Raiders. So he used his Nordic Mounted Raiders to blunt my charge, which was a good idea. Over here, Saxon Mounted Warband, medium, shouldn't do too well against my Exhibitores on the charge, but they will probably grind it out in the long run. Over here as well, we have the Exhibitores charging into the Nordic Horse Lords. Again, they are going to lose that combat, but the plan is to just keep my infantry so close that I can pour it in and close off the engagements, kind of like I'm doing here. The Protectores haven't gotten any kills yet, but they are tanking for my cavalry, and they are... Now the Nordic Mounted Raiders are dying. I'm going to start rolling up the flanks here. And here you see the Nordic Brigade rushing in against my Exhibitores. To stop any more of that from happening, I'm sending my Exhibitores in here, getting into these 2 units. I'm losing so many men from precursors here, and this was what I was afraid of. But I'm going to get a nice rear charge here against his units with my cavalry, start sealing off the cavalry engagements. On the flanks here, I'm just going to get absolutely smashed. These Nordic brigades and Nordic bands, just look at how quickly the units of Vim are dying here. They're just disappearing. And I don't have a whole lot of men myself. but Vim's units are dying much faster than my units are. So the cavalry, since I have better infantry support in the center here, my cavalry is doing a great job in holding his cavalry. Nordic Mounted Raiders, they should die here. The Nordic Brigade should die. Now I'm able to pour in the cavalry against his Nordic Horse Lords, get some good charges there. Just hold for as long as possible. Over here things are going great. He's losing his Nordic Mounted. I'm starting to free up a few units. But on the flanks here, I'm losing hardcore. So this Scholar Palatinai is going to probably get caught. I turned it around just at the right time, but I don't think I got the charge off. I did win here, however, and in my opinion the most important engagement is going on over here. Because I have my general here, he has his general over here, but there's no way I'm going to be able to win this fight. So I'm pulling out my cavalry to get the rear charge here, pull out from his infantry, just stop his general for as long as possible. I do not want his morale to boost the morale of the units over here. I want my own brace general to be able to increase the attack against cavalry on my units over here. So over here I'm losing so bad. My Protectores are holding and they're killing off some Nordic band. Very important work done by them. But now I need to seal off these cavalry engagements with infantry. That's going to be the most important thing. I think no Nordic Brigade losing, another Nordic band losing. The Scholar Palatinai are holding very well here against the Nordic Horse Lords. The unit is losing decisively because he got charged by the Palatinai. And here he's pulling out his Saxon Mounted. Not taking as many casualties as I'd hoped, but taking a few casualties. Over here things are not good, but my Protectores are holding like absolute beasts against all these units, chasing way after the cavalry. My general is up against a very dangerous Nordic Horse Lord here, so I'm going to try to get my infantry into the Nordic Horse Lord. He is unbreakable, Headhunt is used on him. The Saxon Mounted, I'm not too worried about that. I just want to break this one unit, then I want to turn around my infantry and go and take care of his Nordic Horse Lords. These infantry units are probably going to be doomed. His chieftain is going to be very hard to kill, at least using the cheap infantry that I have. So what I need to do is I need to finish off these cavalry fights. Headhunt has worn off. This unit is exhausted. It's losing significantly. So getting in the Protector is very important for making my general survive here. But my general could get a rear charge here. Luckily, the Nordic Horse Lords just routed off the field. This Saxon Mounted Warband is also going to die against Tagmata. 225 kills on Tagmata, that's pretty nice. So I'm very glad I have my Tagmata left, one of my Tagmata units. My general is about to get rear charge, but just as that happens, I'm able to turn him around and counter charge. And this is, let's see which unit it is. Saxon Mounted Warband, yeah, so that wasn't really dangerous for me at all. And then I'm able to charge into his Nordic Horse Lords. The Nordic Horse Lords are going to start losing against the Tagmata. And the Scholai are actually doing a great job here in taking care of this unit. My Protectores are losing, of course, to the Gedrith. So the Gedrith is getting a lot of kills. But I did pull out this unit, a bit of a mistake there, I didn't mean to, so I'm probably going to lose it. But I have 3 cavalry units left, and somehow my infantry units have managed to survive. This unit could have survived for longer if I just hadn't pulled it out, which was just a straight up mistake by me. So now it's just a matter of surrounding his Gedrith. He is confident and the army is losing and exhausted. So that just gives you an idea of how good the morale is on this guy. Sending the Tagmata in to stop him for a bit. He just wrecked my Tagmata with his chieftain. But this allows me to pour in the Protectores from this side. Or Protectores from this side and from this side. So I just want him to turn around against my infantry. And then send in the cavalry from the rear. Palatinai crashing in here, doing a lot of damage to the Gedrith. And at this point he has a choice. He can either turn to face my cavalry, or he can get wrecked by the infantry that is attacking him. So now he's pulling out, and he's actually losing decisively to my Protectores. But that is of course not going to be enough. So I send in my Tagmata for the second go. I'm probably going to lose the Tagmata, but they're going to get some kills here. And then for the coup de grace, YOLO charge from all directions into the chieftain with Gedrith. And here we go. Losing decisively. He's still holding because his morale is absolutely insane. So I'm sending my general in to do a bit more damage to him here. And there we go. So this is a GG. GG to Vim. Pyrrhic victory. Very close battle once again. Now there were a few units that I believe lost Vim the battle. Not these guys actually, because I really liked that he brought them, but they were too far away from his cavalry when the engagement started. And even though he was able to blunt charges with his Nordic mounted raiders, he lost them. So it would have been better, I think, to send in the heavies and then send these guys in afterwards, because you lose a lot of funds by losing these units. And his chieftain did a lot of damage. But look at my Protectores. They also did well, but of course against Nordic band and such. So it's hard to say whether which of these kills were good or not, because I mean a lot of them were probably against Protectores and such. And bringing the Exhibitores, I expected more cavalry from more infantry from them. So the Exhibitores probably not the best choice. But I wanted to have some heavy cavalry to just send in and stop units. So that's it. To sum up my thoughts about this tournament, the attacker-defender rule is not a good thing to have in tournaments, especially not in best of ones. When you have a 20-minute time limit, that means that the player who is designated defender, and I was defender in most of my battles, I could have just camped and had a few horse archers or a few light cavalry units, and if I had managed to run away for 20 minutes, I would have won every single battle. So that's not great. If you have a max 10 cav rule, that is in essence not having a cav max rule, in my opinion. 10 cavalry is still a ridiculous amount of cavalry, and to be honest, I think something like max 6 cavalry units is more viable for tournaments, because you have just seen me win every single battle, sometimes decisively, purely by having the better cavalry, having upgrades on the cavalry, and bringing very light infantry to deal with the enemy cavalry. So Attila is still very new, so rules for tournaments and such need to be looked at, need to be considered. But if you don't limit cavalry, the only thing that beats cavalry is better cavalry. If you can't bring better cavalry, you're basically lost. Or when you have attacker defender roles, you can pike box. That's basically what you can do. So in some respects, it's not just about spamming cavalry and winning, because in this matchup I think it's entirely likely that used a bit differently, this Saxon army would wreck my army. The reason being that if these Nordic bands got their precursors off, send in the Nordic brigade first, block the charge, send in the cavalry, send in the Nordic band with javelins, I really don't think my cavalry would have been able to stand up to his cavalry, because yes, Tagmata is very strong. However, Tagmata has a 30 bonus against large. So I have 4 cavalry units without a bonus against large. I have 6 cavalry units with a bonus against large. So in a straight up cavalry fight, if these units just charge each other, that would in essence mean that these Nordic horse lords, 4 Nordic horse lords against Tagmata, sure, they would lose. They would not lose if the precursors started hitting, if these units were used to block charges. And the same goes for the Germanics. He had Saxon mounted warband. So Saxon mounted warband is decent. It's not as good as Germanic horse, but it's entirely possible that in a straight-up cavalry engagement, that the army of Vim would defeat my army, given the support from all of these units with precursors. However, Vim took the engagement a bit too far away from his infantry support, which enabled my cavalry to get into his rear and clean up a lot of infantry units, so they weren't able to commit to the fight. So he did very well on the flanks, but in the central engagement I was able to get my infantry in, but at that point I had taken care of most of his infantry support, so I'm glad I decided to do that. Protectores, very good units. So this was the Cav Spam tournament for me. I wanted to see, the reason why I'm bringing these cavalry builds and these upgraded units is because through extensive testing I am fairly certain that better cavalry is the best way to beat cavalry. All other ways of trying to counter are very unreliable, aside from a pike box, of course, but that's boring as hell. So you saw a lot of players use flaming ammunition to counter enemy cavalry, but when you use flaming ammunition to fire into a blob and your units have their backs turned, they're going to take more damage than the enemy units. So it's not a great, and especially this is what served me really well in this tournament, since my morale was pretty damn good because I had my units upgraded. The enemy units routed faster that were under friendly fire. So while my men held until they had like 8 men left, you saw enemy units breaking at like 30 men, and that is the problem with vanilla cheap cavalry units. So enough blabbering for me. Thanks to I can't even pronounce his name. I'll put it in the link for hosting the tournament. Thanks to all the players. I had some great, very fun games. That's it. Strength and honor.